What's up, everybody? Just letting a few people gather in. Aloha, welcome, happy Sunday. Release Sundays live. Thanks for joining us. Aloha, Anne-Marie. Yes, blessings. Appreciate you coming on for the beats. This is actually an original track that was in the film. It was in part 2, actually. Yeah, trying to play some music from the film, actually, because we did original music throughout this film, proud to say. And yeah, might as well mix some of it in, get it going. Here it comes. Yeah. Little morning mix. Morning for me, later for the rest of you. So grateful to have you on the broadcast. It's, yeah, I had to sacrifice putting these headphones on to wear my early Christmas present that came. So grateful. Got a little piece of Injoy on the front, you can see. Yeah, what can I say? A nice quality hat. Used to be a thing, you know? And these hats, they last you. You pass them down to your kids, you know? Beautiful, beautiful thing. Wow. What a journey it's been. Truly, truly. How about this? I want to play for you guys. I was scrolling back through and I found the original intro soundtrack to my original radio show I had 10 plus years ago. Yeah, it was an awesome show. I you know, had a custom intro and it was on Oracle Broadcasting. The show was called Esoteric Action Radio. And I found the broadcast intro for it, so I thought I'd throw it in. Thought you guys would get a kick out of it. I don't even remember producing this, but I did.
मैं डेविड ब्राउन आज इस ख्याल की खुशी से फूला नहीं समा रहा कि मैं एक ऐसे अजीम फनकार, महान कलाकार, ग्रेट आर्टिस्ट को आपसे मिलाने का काम कर रहा हूं. There he is. Come, sing and conquer.
You are now listening to Esoteric Action Radio with your host, Seeker of Truth, Mike Ananda Singh.
Oh yeah, totally remember this. It's taking me back. Flashbacks. Man, that show was, I think it was 3 hours, a 3-hour show every Sunday. I did for like 2 years. It was a commitment. Had some really cool people on the broadcasts. Had some really, really cool people on the broadcast, actually. Bob Dean, the great Bob Dean, who passed away. Rest his soul. Nassim Haramein. Gosh, it was cool. Had a co-host for a minute there. It was magic. Aloha Rob from Germany. Thanks for joining us, bud. This is another track that was actually in the film release. The movie part 2. By the way, we have a lot to get into, exploring our divinity and exploring the film. It's been quite a journey. We're 13 days in. About to break 9,000 views, which I know doesn't seem like much in the scheme of the collective of the world, but you hit a tipping point at a certain point. And when you hit that tipping point, there is a beautiful thing that happens where it starts accelerating in how it spreads. So please share the film. You can go to releasethemovie.com. And this one I'm really proud of, actually. So I appreciate everyone's support who watched it and has given just amazing feedback, and all the people reaching out, both to receive this work and also even to become practitioners of this work. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm honored to really just be a part of this movement with you all. It's been awesome and a journey. We cover a lot of what happened with the first one where we got censored. And they took down the momentum. We were at coming up on like 60,000 views after 4 weeks for the first one. And they pulled it. They pulled it from the platforms, both Mr. Astrotheology. And then ours, we pulled real quick and unlisted so we can keep it live for you. It's still at the website, releasethemovie.com. It's below the second one. So you just kind of scroll down on the page. And it stole being able to, YouTube stole being able to watch the beautiful progression of what happens when you make something, you make a film, and you get to watch it exponentially grow in the people that got to watch it. And so it's been enjoyable to bear witness, and, fingers crossed they don't find a way to take it down. We'll be able to actually watch the kind of exponential growth of who sees the film and how it spreads and how it, expands to the collective, if you will. And it's already been really awesome. It's kind of nice to watch something on a smaller scale as it reaches people. And thank you, Rob. Thank you very much. In fact, actually, my co-director, who's on the fence about the first one. He's a very specific filmmaker, and then it was beautiful because it blew up and everyone loved it, and so then he saw it in a different light. The second one, he's really expressed, he just feels like it was a really beautiful film, and it actually has inspired him to work on one of his feature-length documentaries that he has kind of just put off to the side. He felt really inspired, so that was another wave of magic that came through that was really beautiful. So, and all of it is reflecting on the divinity of us, of what we are, and of what we truly are, and the divine reflections of technology within us. And that's kind of where I wanted to go to today, because and we'll get into it. I just have been going deep into looking at everything in the collective as we do each week, it kind of accumulates and amasses to look at bigger pictures in the collective, because a picture is comprised of a matrix of pixels. And so as we pull back from the pixels that maybe we can't see the whole image, as we keep pulling back, all those pixels generate into an image, a bigger picture. And so as I've been looking at that, I've been looking at the Luciferian indoctrination for all of us in pop culture and what we idolize and the idols that we see, and also the true idols that are kept from us, not even idols, embodiments, role models that have been kept from us or removed specifically and have been replaced with archetypal derivatives ultimately of these different pagan gods, Mithravian gods, pre the dawning of Christ consciousness and Jesus Christ onto the planet. And ultimately, that movement that came was God coming through human form to reflect the divinity of what we are, which broke the age of sacrificing, blood sacrifice. Why is it so low? There we go. These Mithravian false gods, these fallen, non-physical energy entity parasites that came down as the gods to primitive people and got them to do blood sacrifice and worship. And that was the look. Do your history. That was the thing. And so with the dawning of Christ consciousness, it changed that for the collective, which is why it was a threat and attacked. But exploring that divinity is a powerful thing. It's just a little clip to give context for.
Our DNA holds a message. I went into one of the oldest and most mysterious spiritual texts, the Sefer Yetzirah, and it's only been translated into English once. Every single alphabet that has ever been known to exist has always had a mysterious number linked to the letter that it represents. When I took the ancient alphabets and I replaced the elements of the DNA with those alphabets, the DNA began to read as you read letters in a sentence in the page upon a book. When we replaced those letters with a periodic table and we began reading the text, the very first sentence in every strand of DNA literally says the words, God eternal within the body.
So it's reflected throughout in such a powerful way, the aspect of our divinity coded within us. That's why our DNA is so important. That's why our DNA is under attack. That's why it's up to you to protect the gift that you were given from the divine. But in order to protect something, you have to know what it truly is, don't you? So, so much of this is reflected in the engineering of our body, from the nerves that connect to our teeth, and our teeth are capacitors for our mobile electric body system. That's why what happens to your teeth can compromise the capacitors to your battery, and then your battery's charge doesn't run properly, and then your cells start degrading and breaking down. The pineal gland, our divine, just the mechanism of the brain as a whole, that mechanism and what it can do, its true potentiality, and what nourishes it, what compromises it. We have no gnosis as a collective people for any of these things, and it's about bringing awareness to that. So, just a basic example, we'll just throw some fun into that, okay? Activating, decalcify, meditate, sun gazing. Okay, so these are all strategies to activate this brain center, okay? Different things to stimulate the pineal gland, to also decalcify the pineal gland that gets calcified, right? Fluoride's one of the foundational things for that. Meditation, breath work like pranayama, oxygenating the brain, getting fresh blood and oxygen to the brain so it starts activating. Sun gazing is an amazing, easy practice you can do in the morning. 15 minutes in sunrise, 15 minutes in sunset. You get different light frequencies, all profoundly healing for the brain. Vitamin K2 it's essential to the ability of the body to assimilate calcium. It removes calcification as well, so that's going to include the calcification of the pineal gland. Iodine, nascent iodine is amazing. In fact, iodine is the primary element that is required in the receptor sites in your brain. And you know what gets filled up in those receptor sites? False things like iodide, like fluoride, like bromide. So when you take nascent iodine, different, it flushes the receptor sites out of the brain. It actually has been shown to increase neuroreceptivity and brain development in children by I think around 30%, increases the neurokinetic functioning and intelligence level. Raw apple cider vinegar, amazing. It's another one. It's a natural cleanser. It assists in the decalcification of the pineal gland. Boron naturally is present in beetroot and can be taken in forms and supplements. Also helps decalcify the pineal gland, removes fluoride from the system. I'm blessed in this state. It's one of the 2 states out of all of them that does not have fluoridation in the water currently. Ultimately, all of these things to me were embodied by a specific individual. And that specific individual, let's get a little something going here. Boom, disco cuts. Let's do it. All of that was ultimately reflected by one role model, a foundational Jedi that embodied the divinity and then told you, I'm just paving the way. You have the ability to go farther. You all have this ability. You are the children of Israel, of God, not a location, of Israel. Okay? Had nothing to do with the location. It was those that followed the practice of embodying the divine. So I've recently watched this show right here, The Chosen. I just started the series. I'm about 3 episodes in. I'm going to recommend it to all of you to watch this for a few foundational reasons. Number one, I want you to think about the viewing content and entertainment that you're used to watching. And it's all good. I've watched the Game of Thrones, okay? I've done it, right? Watching them Games of Thrones, and I am in the film industry. I was in the film industry for 10 years. I have an appreciation for cinema, for film, for the art of it. And through the process over decades, I've watched the progressive, I'm going to say evolution, not in consciousness, the progressive evolution of Luciferian pop culture indoctrination in content. I'm talking occult, everything, all the pagan god reflected aspects, then riddled into the archetypes of the false superheroes. You know, so many of these films, God is not present as a conscious force for saving the world. It's always some demonic elements and then some form of, supposed like hybridized God-human or technologically mutated, transhumanistically mutated, superhuman being or accident-ridden superhuman being was the ones that would always be saving us, saving the world, saving everything from darkness. So really God is removed in the reality of a lot of the pop culture, especially sci-fi components. There's very little place for a God conscious if you think about it. So this show is written about the life of Jesus Christ, but from the perspective of not just Gospels, but also of records of people that interacted with him. This is the actor playing Jesus, and I have to say I think he's just did an amazing job. Just the way he embodied, there's a uniqueness that I appreciate. That's really beautifully done. And we have seen some aspects of movies done around Christ, and obviously Mel Gibson one, he's doing another one, but I'm just saying on average you're not seeing these role models. You're not seeing this as a role model for you, and I don't care what image you might know him by. It's the aspect of the role model, and what are you living your life role modeled after, really? And I think just in the fact that we lost a few people even watching the show since I started talking about this is actually like fairly significant to really reflect upon. Oh man, because I'm looking at it for myself. I'm looking at my own desensitization. So this is kind of some of the different characters in these stories that you're going to watch, and it's really powerful. Both, and I've been getting really drawn back to exorcisms, because I think I've talked, and for many of you that have heard me speaking, 100%, Michael. We can definitely get into that for sure. Thanks for speaking that out. And yes, 100%. In regards to like Mary Magdalene, I don't know if you knew this, but there were 7 demons written in text that were in Mary Magdalene that Jesus actually delivered her from. And that's when she devoted her life to these teachings and to the embodiment of what he was bringing to the world. And so you kind of get to see that play out in the first few episodes, and actually it was kind of the catalytic event that triggered the whole community of rabbis and the synagogue to where Jesus popped onto the reality matrix as a distortion that triggered the powers that were in control, and who eventually acted out against and martyred him to the world. But it's just beautifully done. It's really been powerful to witness and watch. And again, reflective of an alternative to the heroes, the role models that we are raising our children watching and ourselves have been indoctrinated to. And again, there's no difference with these characters. Sorry, the quality is not good on this. So sorry about that. To these gods. These are the pagan gods. These are Mithravian gods. These are the pre-existing gods, plural, if you will. Not that there was one God, in truth is its name, that comes through. Again, this is also, this is not the same as these gods. I want to clarify. I feel like I play a role in this because there's a lot of people in the Christian community that include these gods, this Mithravian gods, the gods plural, are the same as these gods, and they very much aren't. Just for everyone, that I was raised both with Christian and Catholic upbringing, and also the Eastern spiritual sciences, so I'm familiar with knowing them both. And I have to say that in the Hindu religion, although again, I do not consider myself a practitioner of the Hindu religion, I am more in the practices of the rishis, of the yogic sciences. They don't have the ideological belief systems the same way. I appreciate and am aware and understand a lot of the practices and the ritual aspects with Hinduism and honoring these expressions. So it's over here, I'm looking here, they're over here. These expressions of the divine. See, in Hinduism, these are not gods, plural, that are individualized. They are expressions of one God referred to as Brahma, and very much they are the equivalent to angels in Christianity. In fact, they're depicted in Hinduism battling demons. So I want you to see it's differentiated in the teachings. They are not the same as demons. Demons are identified being on the earth, and they would, like angels, come and battle these demons in what appeared to be a celestial spiritual war going on in the background of human beings. In fact, Hinduism and the Bhagavad Gita actually go in depth into more the aspects of both the interdimensional infrastructure of consciousness and the divine, and the expressions of the divine coming through, which is exactly what angels are, as various celestial operatives, and then the ones that fell to the earth and chose to fracture from the collective. So there is very much a difference than these gods, which this happens to be one of them right here. Pan, right? Another derivative of Baphomet, which we see that's been deeply indoctrinated in this Luciferian secret society that controls this world that we identify all the time, that again has influxed through pop culture and entertainment to really creating a series of archetypal gods, so to speak, that are man's heroes. And in light of all the Balenciaga stuff and the deeper indoctrination, and just really looking at how much this has been put into our consciousness, we've covered so much of this, and the absurdity and the hypocrisy of Hollywood around defending this. Just a quick clip.
The outrage. I'm going to go off for a minute here, because where is the outrage? It's been a week and a half, And now we're doing this story. I get it. Thanksgiving was happening and all that. But they tried to hide behind that, right? Maybe this will make it through the news cycle. No, it's not, okay? Adidas didn't cut ties 48 hours after Kanye did his whole thing, right? And they got lambasted for not speaking out against anti-Semitism. This is a week and a half, and nobody seems to care that there's little kids involved in this. I can't speak what it's like to be a black man, right? I can't speak what it's like to be a Jewish woman, but I can speak what it's like to be a father of 2 young boys. And that this type of behavior, when I worked at CBS.com out of a little closet my first show, I was like, I'm going to say this and wear a blue shirt. I got 49 emails saying, maybe wear a purple shirt and maybe don't say this here. Don't tell me this slipped through the cracks when you're getting a court case that features child pornography. It's disgusting. It's disturbing. Jeopardy's got to flip.
So, as some people are speaking out about this, I mean, if you really dive into the deeper roots of what's been influxed and indoctrinated, I mean, take a look at the very translation, folks. This is it right here. Baal Ensiaga, Baal or Satan is king. Okay, no joke. That's literally what it translates to. I'm telling you right now. Look it up for yourself. All of this was influxed through a period, 1920s, around this whole period, and then going into like Walt Disney, Jack Parsons, and this guy, Aleister Crowley, okay? There has been a deep influx of this Luciferian culture for hundreds of years, but it did really push to the forefront in Western society and distorted a lot of things. I'm going to give you an example, down to even the day we supposedly are honoring the birth of this ultimate role model that I'm speaking of. Here's a little twisted take on the dark truth about Christmas even.
To say about Christmas? Well, that's an excellent question, and I've got my own opinion on that, and I believe that Jesus would say, why are you guys celebrating my birthday when it's not my birthday? As we all know, Jesus was not born on December 25th. Well, why are we celebrating Jesus' birthday on a day that wasn't his birthday? Now, maybe your kids are small and you celebrate their birthday on a weekend because their birthday lands on a weekday, so you might move it a smidge, but nobody moves it months. And I think if Jesus saw everybody and told us exactly what he thought about celebrating his birthday on December 25th, he would say that you are all celebrating my birthday in honor of the sun god, Horus, where they used to sacrifice babies to please him. And if you really think, if December 25th was actually a day of sacrifice of babies, how many babies would they have had to please Horus? Well, quite a few, I would imagine. Well, how many months does it take a baby? Because people want to be prepared, they want to plan ahead. So that brings us back 9 months prior to Christmas, where Easter. We celebrate Easter for what? The resurrection. Coincidentally, Easter, which is also another god, Ishtar, the god of war and fertility, which is why there's rabbits and eggs, was actually a pagan holiday that was observed by basically having an orgy. So everybody got together on Easter, had a lot of sex, so 9 months later there'd be a lot of babies. And coincidentally, when all those babies were born, old Horus was there December 25th, wanting you to slice them open and sacrifice the babies to him. And then here we are, thousands of years later, celebrating baby Jesus' birthday on Christmas, when in reality on Christmas was a sacrificial day where millions of babies were slaughtered. And that is what I think he would think. How dare you?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Back now. I'm just going to repeat everything that I just said. We're going to take a sacred pause. Thanks for saying that, Michael, because I actually was going to just do a little urine therapy sacred pause before I connect the dots. Which, by the way, okay. So let me do this real quick. Thanks for telling me that, guys. I put the mic on mute for you. So I know this seems crazy, but Baal, Baphomet, Moloch, all of these Luciferian gods, it was a theme, child sacrifice. Why? Children are the purest emanation of the divine. That's why in a war you want to try to hurt your opponent. So thank you guys for the heads up on the sound. And so that's the focus. I know this may seem crazy to you, but we're going to connect the pieces on a even current production. We showed this on the last Matrix Body Mechanics Live. Before we do that, real quick, sacred pause for Michael. I was actually just going to say quick urine therapy info boost, okay? Just to address what he asked before. If he happens to go off the show, I want to make sure he gets the info. Anything you eat that you consume, any food, any vitamins, any nutrients, the nanohydrogen machine, I just found out when you breathe the nanohydrogen, it actually cycles out through the urine. Bioavailable right into the bloodstream. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. You can actually pre-plan and prepare for consuming a higher concentration of your own synthesized nutrients by boom, if you took a vitamin B shot or something, you know a good chunk of what you couldn't metabolize is going to be fully synthesized in the urine, ready to go. You have a couple shots of wheatgrass, you know in the next hour or so, boom, all those nutrients you couldn't absorb from that wheatgrass, you can recycle back in right into the bloodstream. Amazing. On top of concentrated high levels of your own stem cells. Now, we covered protocols that's your best chance to rehabilitate yourself from being nanotech altered genetically to being human. And the foundational protocol, remember there's 3 stages: deactivate the nanotech, detox the nanotech, and then repair the genetic damage. And what is the protocol for the repairing the genetic damage in the body? Uropathy. Giving yourself your own concentrated stem cells with their authentic genetic coding and the morphogenetic coding. Up, here comes the rain. I'm going to close this. The morphogenetic coding of your natural DNA that's been altered. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Let's keep it moving on this. The focus has always been about reaching the children. Take a look at this. This is the latest. This is a clip from the latest The Santa Clauses that's out for your children to watch for the holiday season right now. Take a look at this. Now, as someone who does film, okay, look at this. They're supposed to spell Santa. What do they spell? Satan. Do you see this? Do you see this? There are producers and editors. You know how many people have gone over this visually to know, oh, we made a mistake on this shot? They do that in the playbacks after shooting, before it even goes to the editor and they catch anything and they reshoot it. So this was done. Love you, Satan. Literally, guys, how many coincidences do we have to have? You're welcome, Michael. I hope that helped. To put it all together. Okay, take a look at this one. This is part of why in watching this Chosen series, it's been so beautiful to watch something that is amazingly, beautifully shot, tells an amazing story, has nothing but a positive message, and embodies a role model that is inspiring, that I want my children to be inspired and get to know through knowing more of Christ than what is just seen in a lot of the limited teachings or the indoctrination of the distortions of the church, and even some of the distortions of the new born-again Christian, all of it, okay? There's a deeper aspect that I wanted my children to see and know on the backside of seeing how indoctrinated we all have been. Does anybody remember this Simpsons, okay? And then how many coincidences do we need to have? Check this out. They were putting this name, this phrase, Satan is king, Baal is king, in our heads for the longest time. And anyone who even says this stupid name brand, you're not saying a name brand. You're saying a phrase with your word spells. You're putting energy into it that's being fueled by the collective. And that includes even this whole debacle of this happening. Everyone's talking about, everyone's saying it. Check this out.
Balenciaga.
Bartholomew Simpson.
No.
You think that offends us? This is fun!
Lisa Simpson, the baby.
So, yeah. What can I say? It's all been indoctrinated in, guys. These have been the role models right here, okay? These have been the role models. We've taken them in, we've accepted them. They've become a part of our reality, what we appreciate, what we think of as heroes. We want to see I want to see the new Black Panther. We don't see how much we've been sold on this stuff. And so I'm expressing to you, I've enjoyed these films. I have had fun with the imagination side of it, but what is the deeper rooted meaning? What has been getting placed in our consciousness as the heroes, or those to live and emanate and embody being a divine expression of the Creator? It hasn't been these heroes that had tons of peril and challenges and resistance and drama and magic and faith and mystery. It's been these ones, not these ones. Not this one. Not this one. Depicted through ancient text. Not this one. In fact, this one has been indoctrinated to us to not be cool, to be boring, to be associated with the church and the extremeness of those that follow this religion. Not with the messages that are reflected, that were spoken by this true Jedi. Was in the beginning, before the heavens and the earth, before sunsets and the Pacific, before wildflowers and whales and strawberries and freckles. He was before all of it, because he made all of it. He spoke the word into existence, which is perhaps why Jesus was called the Word. By his words come light and knowledge, healing and hope. The words Jesus spoke changed the course of history, along with the lives of 12 very ordinary men. The disciples were an unconventional group, none of whom would have scored very high on popularity scales. They were rough around the edges and ranged from salt of the earth to downright sketchy. So it's a wonder such men wholly responded to Jesus' simple words, "Follow me." I mean, hey y'all, it sounds like the profiled, relatable aspect of all the Avengers that assembled together, that were oddballs or mismatched or were even possibly prior criminals to that, salt of the earth, downright sketchy, and they all were assembled together, weren't they? But they did. The disciples gave up all they had to follow Jesus when he called. They sat under his teachings and listened to him pray. They watched him welcome children and honor the least of these. They heard him tell jokes, laugh at their jokes, and be respectful to his mother. They witnessed him heal the sick, defend his father's house, and chastise the self-righteous with words. So of course, 12 ordinary men, like all of us, initially void of purpose, became the very ones so changed by Jesus' words, and they would fearlessly take them to the ends of the earth, because Jesus makes us what we're not, the chosen. So it's been beautifully inspiring, and I feel like this is where one truly embodies the teachings, and I'm using this platform to share with you. This is an amazing series. It's done really well. It's beautiful, and its content feels of the light, and so much of the content that is on these different platforms, from the Netflix to the HBOs there's such a darker undertone, and maybe it's because I'm just seeing the deeper inner workings that have been set in place so clearly now, but I can't watch a single thing without seeing the indoctrination and the programming and how dense it's gotten as I look over the last even 10 years. It's one of the intentions with making Release, was to show you an embodiment of the divine power and technology of the inner physician. The inner physician is the divine. within you. It's the same thing Christ was teaching, was pointing out, was helping people to see. You have that divinity within you, within your technology. I gotta work on this. Within the divine reflections of the anatomy and physiology, but the deeper aspects of your sacred anointing process that your body, like mine, is designed to do if you so choose to cultivate it, reflected through the intelligence of your DNA. And that was one of the intentions that I'm so honored to bring all of us back together through a collective visual, because movies, we love movies. I love movies. That's why I wanted to get into the film industry. I wanted to tell stories. And aloha Utah Spice. And it's been challenging to see in the film industry the dark places it's gone and the lack of really divine content. And that's been the magic for me of making this film, to bring more awareness to the power of touch and the connectedness that we all share and the divinity that we all share that we haven't been given the knowledge for. And it's time. We're in an age of more access to knowledge and wisdom than ever before. And also more deception, disillusionment, indoctrination, programming, dopamine, serotonin codependency through constantly scrolling your things. And this is where it's just a powerful path of your free will still, with all of the indoctrination. And it's not fair. It isn't a fair thing that none of us were raised in a civilization where we were given this knowledge of our own bodies, healing technology, the power of our divinity, all of these things. And yes, it's not fair and it's not your fault. But it is your responsibility to do something about it, because nobody else is now. So God loves you in the fact that it's reflected that you're led to even listen to this and start taking a look at the power of the inner physician, the power that you have within yourself to awaken. And that's why it was talked about in ancient prophecies, the aspects of this tribulation coming, and the aspects of the divine baptism to return yourself to your divinity for greater events coming that will test the true character of us all. Ginger Joker in the house. Aloha, Angela. So that's the little Sunday show for you. I'm going to actually go put that into action and do a divine yoga set of the Rishis practices. Again, the yogic sciences are about activating the divinity within yourself. And there are many ancient records of Jesus going to India, going to the East, and training in sciences that I believe he found a way to activate this. He was ahead of the curve. He was ahead of his time in unlocking the divine technology of this body. And then he came back to teach everyone how to do it. That's the only thing I would add in this Chosen series, is when he has his little encampment, they kind of show him do like a stretch or something. I would have had him doing more advanced stretching and breath work practices. And there's, again, so much distortion even for the yogic sciences out there, because people think that these Mithravian gods are the same as these Hindu gods, which, again, I'll say it again, were just expressions of the divine. What they refer to as Brahma is the one God, and that they were like expressions of angels, if you will. That's the relatability. So someone had said, oh, the yogic sciences, yeah, or yoga poses, each of the poses is actually in the image of one of their gods, and so it's satanic if you do them, and that's just absurd. Separate from us decoding that they weren't individualized Mithravian or pagan gods, they were expressions of one God, no different than angels. So you could say each of the poses are actually representative of angelic forms. But nonetheless, separate from that, the Hindu body of the yogic sciences were not the root origin. They came from what were known as the rishis, which were non-identified religion-based followers. They were practitioners of spiritual sciences who honored one God as well, one divine conduit, not a plethora. And then from the rishis did they pass the yogic sciences to the Sikhs, who were attacked by the Muslims and the Hindus because they worshipped one God, truth is its name. Gurudev, Satnam, okay? One God, truth is its name. And that was a threat to the elites in the Hindu society, in the Muslim society, with the religions that they were pushing at the time. Again, still the Hindu religion and all of the reflections of Brahma, okay, that is its own thing. It was the elitist society system that was threatened by the Sikhs because they were powerful and wealthy, and they sat with the homeless people on the streets and they ate with them, and they messed with their whole caste system of the Brahmins at the top and the untouchables at the bottom. That's why it was a threat. It wasn't because of a conflict of religion outside of that. They've individualized expressions of the divine, and the Sikhs and the truest teachings keep it simple. There is one divine power, okay? So in that regard, the yogic sciences activate, this is all science, a biochemical charge through mechanically stressing the body by flexing and using the prana in the breath. That brings an electrical charge to the base of the skull. That charge arcs the hemispheres through the third and fourth ventricle of the brain, activating the pineal gland. The pineal and the pituitary release two sacred secretions, and those sacred secretions collect at the base of the skull in a form of colostrum identified by the red and the white colostrum, sainted colostrum, Santa Claus, sainted colostrum. All of it's been distorted. And why did we really practice this? Where we brought, remember, we got the Christmas tree with the lights up the tree. What is your spine? It's a neural tree that you bring the lights up to the star at the top. That activates this process. And when you do these practices at the dates coming up, December 23rd, 24th, 25th, when the sun goes to its lowest point and then this electromagnetic field draws up. When you do these practices, guess what happens? Your energy rides off the magnetic pull of the sun over those 3 days, and it helps accelerate this process I'm describing to cultivate more of this sainted colostrum, to collect, and gravity or fake gravity draws that down the spine, and that nourishes your nervous system and regenerates your cells every 11 months instead of every 7 years. Think about that. That is the formula for you to live a longer lifespan, to gain more knowledge and wisdom. And all of this has been kept from us and retarded. But who was the one who came down and embodied that sacred anointing in that process of divine alchemy? It was this role model that has been removed from almost all of our entertainment, which we've decoded that word in Latin. So that is our show. That is what I wanted to share with you all. I appreciate each and every one of you. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry we didn't have a show last week. Starry we didn't have a show. We were 17 watching Q. We were given a strike. Was it for our film? No, it's because they've started going through and picking off all of my old Matrix Body Mechanics live shows before we switched to Rumble because they started banning us. They're going back through all the old shows. At first, they started just removing them. Now they've started giving us strikes. So I have now unlisted all of the shows that were on here except for the content. Sadly, it's taken a lot more of our content off the channel, but I just refuse to have them try to take down our channel and this film because we didn't put anything that would get it removed. So they're now trying to remove other content and give me strikes. So I apologize. When you get a strike, you can't do a live show for a week. That's why we couldn't do one on Sunday. And so I've removed all those. They're still on Rumble. You can check them out on there. And there's still a lot of amazing stuff on here, including Release the Movie Part 1 and Release the Movie Part 2. Here it is again. So again, I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a blessed Sunday. And there's also a lot of content for you to start exploring everything we've talked about with that sacred anointing and embodying and empowering yourself to activate in the image of that divine embodiment role model. For me, that is the ultimate Jedi, Jesus Christ, embodying my Father, the Creator in physical form, and embodying such an emanation of love, of truth, of kindness, of compassion. And and let's just touch base before we get off about his mother real quick. Huh? Did you know that Mary was shown everything that was going to happen to her son when she just had him? Everything, the crucifixion, all of it. And she lived her entire life loving without sin, knowing the intensity of what was going to come, the destiny, the fate. And through that embodied expression did she emanate such an embodiment of true virtue. So sharing this, it's powerful that we all don't know more maybe about all of this, huh? I was looking at it myself and decided to start diving back in and just refreshing, learning more. And I suggest you do the same. This is a day of the sun. It's a day of activity, actually. Yesterday was the day of prayer and reverence, and always used to be such. They've spun our weeks around. So try experimenting with that too. Try utilizing your Saturday for sacred reverence and prayer and rest. And make your Sunday the day of activity. And see how you feel on Monday. See how your week is. See how it starts off, because you're not having to transition from rest on the day of the sun. You actually had a day of activity and you're kind of fired up to go right into your moon day, Monday. How about Thor's Day? Does anyone look at it? Thor's Day, that's what it was, okay? We're talking about these pagan gods, their influence in our culture. Forget about pulp culture. How about just look at our general structure of our calendar system, of the Babylonian Gregorian calendar system even. It's all been there to distort us from the truth, and it's up to us to return to that. So, that's what we're all here to do. And it's all designed to be very challenging in the process. So with that, closing us out with one of the tracks from the film. It's one of the first slower, like indie disco tracks that I actually have made. Really grateful to actually to get this one in the film. It fit, and editing the film, it became just so stuck in my head. I was just kind of bopping to it all the time. So grateful to each and every one of you, appreciating and loving you all. Yeah, that's the interesting thing, actually. If you look, Jesus Christ is one of the only historical figures written about in the Quran, written about in the Jewish book of records of history of prayer, the Torah, and he's been written, and he's written in the Hindu books as well. He's identified, so I've been identified as existing in multiple cultures. He's actually the only figure that has been. So I found that to be fascinating, and just so much more to come. So take a look. The cool thing about this Chosen series is it's just a beautifully done period piece, if not anything else. Jesus is very uniquely introduced throughout it, and it's just really, really cool, actually. And that's why I want to share it all with you, as I like to share anything that's benefited my life for more awakening, presence, joy, compassion, inspiration. So on that, it's our show. Happy Release Sundays. Appreciate each and every one of you. And until we see each other again. We have tomorrow's show, Matrix Bottom Mechanics Live. We'll be on Rumble and People for People Radio. We'll be decoding and getting into all of the yummy good Twitter excitement. And folks, there's about to be another Twitter drop today. They're keeping it exciting. It's Fauci time now. So all the Fauci goodness about to be released. So we're going to cover it all tomorrow and so much more. And we'll see you next Sunday. We have some cool guests coming up as well for Release Sundays Live, guys. Some really, really awesome stuff. Dr. Kulse is going to come back on with this stem wave technology. It's like a sound technology he's been helping people with. Really, really cool stuff, and so much more. We'll see you next time. Aloha, Satnam. I'm gonna do a little closeout mix, right? Little closeout mix goodness. Thank you guys, appreciate all of you. Thanks Rob, thanks Joe. William, so much love. Angela, Ginger Joker, loving you. Thank you, Rebecca. Michael, awesome. Thanks for that question. Kind of a spooky closeout track. This is TKOL. This is the Radiohead remixes. Such weird stuff on here. All right, so much love to you all. Aloha, Satnam.